Hello and welcome to Windows Business Weekly. This week I'm going to be talking about Windows 10X, so stay tuned. So I'm a little bit late talking about Windows 10X on this podcast because this was an announcement that Microsoft made back at its Surface hardware event at the beginning of October. Now there are a couple of portable devices that Microsoft announced, the Surface Neo and the Surface Duo. Now the Surface Duo is a phone device that is based on Android, but the Neo is more of a tablet size and it's based on a new SKU of Windows 10 which Microsoft is dubbing Windows 10X. And this is the first time that we've heard anything about Windows 10X officially from Microsoft, although this has kind of been talked about in the tech media maybe for the last couple of years, and it's been referred to as Windows 10 Lite or OS Lite, something like that. And we kind of thought that it was going to be something of a Chrome OS competitor, but Microsoft at the moment is only releasing Windows 10X on the specific devices and devices that its partners will be producing. And when I say devices, I mean devices like the Surface Neo. So they will be dual screen foldable devices, although it is going to be supported at a later stage on notebooks as well. So what can I tell you about Windows 10X at the moment? Well, we don't know an awful lot. We've only seen some prototype devices. Some people were lucky enough to get their hands on them and actually have a quick play around with them. But we don't know very much about Windows 10X apart from a high-level overview, which is what I want to give you in this podcast. So, first of all, these devices, for the time being at least, are going to run on Intel processors only. So it will be Intel's latest Lakefield range of CPUs. And Windows 10X is something that will come pre-installed on devices that you buy. So it's not going to be like Windows 10 as it stands at the moment. It's not something that you can download and install on your current system, or that you will be able to upgrade your existing system to. You have to buy a device with Windows 10X already installed on it. Now, the most important thing about 10X, as I said before, it is based on Windows Core OS. So this is the modularized version of Windows 10 that allows Microsoft basically to pull out various parts of the operating system and run them in isolation. So what does that mean for 10X? So the most important thing that you really want to note here is that the UI and the Win32 subsystem are separated from one another, and this will allow Microsoft to run Windows 32 or Win32 legacy desktop applications in containers so that they are isolated from one another. That's the apps, they're isolated from one another, and they're isolated from the base OS. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? The advantage is, of course, security, and this allows Windows to run those legacy desktop applications but provide the same level of security that would only otherwise be possible with modern UWP applications, for instance. Because those applications that users are downloading from the internet or from other sources, of course very often they're not safe, they make changes to the underlying OS, they cause reliability and performance issues, and quite often they can be insecure and make changes to Windows that could possibly introduce viruses or data leakage problems or all this kind of thing. So running these legacy applications in containers has all of these advantages of giving us a secure and stable operating system, more like what we see today with Chrome OS, but giving us that backwards compatibility. Now, of course, the issue with running Win32 apps in containers is that while it provides all of that extra security that we would like, it of course comes at a cost, and that is performance. Now, we don't know very much about the actual containers that Win32 apps are going to run in at the moment. Assumably they're going to be reasonably lightweight, and I suspect it will be fairly similar to the containers that the MSIX installer technology today uses in Windows 10. But there's no exact confirmation of the technical details as yet from Microsoft, so we just have to wait and see. Now, although Microsoft didn't announce legacy desktop app support at the October event, we do know that desktop app support will be included in Windows 10 X because of a job advert that appeared, I think, on LinkedIn for the Azure Core OS kernel team looking for new team members, and there Win32 desktop application support was specifically mentioned for Windows 10 X. So that was expected to happen. It's not really a big surprise, but that has already been confirmed in a roundabout kind of a way. So, what else can I say about it? Well, this is all going to premiere not until the second half of next year. So when we get the Windows 10 20H2 build, which is the second feature update that will come next year. It's likely that the technical underpinnings that everything required that is happening for Windows 10 X will already be present in 20H1, which is probably why it's had a long gestation period to get all of that work and technical changes in that Microsoft needed to make in order to make Windows 10 happen. Now, this is the version of Windows 10 that I believe consumers will want and need going forwards. Because as I've long argued, full-blown Windows 10 is just too much for most people. Of course, it's fine for developers, IT professionals, people that need to do very specific things with their devices. But for most of us who just fire up Office applications, type emails, browse the web, we need a much more secure version of Windows going forwards. And I suspect this is also in the future probably what most organizations would really like to deploy. Now, if you remember, at the moment we have Windows 10 S Mode, which provides some of the benefits of what we will see in Windows 10 X, but it's just a little bit too restrictive, unfortunately, to see widespread adoption. Although there is some adoption, of course, in the enterprise. But Windows 10 S Mode doesn't really solve that problem of too restrictive Windows for consumers, unfortunately. So what else can I say about Windows 10 X? So there are a few bits and pieces that we definitely do know. So rather than a start menu, Windows 10 X is going to get what Microsoft is calling the launcher. And it's basically a replacement for the start menu without live tiles. And Microsoft says this is basically aiming to allow users to start and resume tasks as quickly as possible. I'll try to put some screenshots so that you can get a look to see what that looks like exactly. It's much cleaner than what we see in Windows 10 today. It might also come to mainstream Windows 10, we'll have to see. There's finally going to be a modern file explorer. So that's something that users can look forward to. And they've made some tweaks to Windows Hello so that you can authenticate straight away without having to dismiss the lock screen. There's also a simplified taskbar, and Microsoft is also trying to simplify the way that users access settings. So that they're saying now that basically all settings will be accessed via the quick settings feature, which I suppose you will still access via the Action Center in Windows 10 X. Because it's a bit of a mess in Windows 10 at the moment. You can access settings via the Legacy Control Panel, via the Settings app, via the Action Center. So Microsoft is basically trying to bring all of that together to make it less confusing for users. So Windows 10 X, at the moment we don't know very much about it. We just have a high-level overview of what it's going to be, a few ideas about how it's going to look different from Windows 10. We know that initially it will appear on the Surface Neo and some other similar devices from Microsoft's partners. We do know that there are plans to extend it to usual clamshell notebooks. This is not something you're going to be able to download and install on your PC or perform an upgrade to this version of Windows 10. And I really think this is potentially a big move forwards for Microsoft, finally solving that problem, especially for consumers, about how to provide a safe version of Windows 10 but gives that backwards compatibility that allows users to run their favorite and in many cases essential Win32 desktop applications. But the proof is always in the pudding. We'll have to see how this actually works out when those devices start shipping in the holiday season of 2020. Okay, so that's Windows 10 X in a nutshell. That's it for me from this week, and catch you next time on Windows Business Weekly.